Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Peruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Vote on account for the first 4 months of next year passed in Parliament without a vote. Opposition questions the government on debt restructuring. Government responds.
තර්කය තමයි ඔබලා දේශපාලන වේදිකාවේ කියපු දේ සහ අද මෙතන ඇවිල්ලා කරන ඉල්ලීම.
අපිට ඕන කලේ ප්‍රායෝගික ප්‍රවේශයක් මිසක්කා ඉන් එහාට ගිය ගැටුම්කාරී තැනකට නෙමෙයි යන්න.
Heated debates on rice and coconut shortage in Parliament.
පෞගේ කාලේ ඔබතුමාලා කිව්වේ මේ ඇමතිවරුන්ගේ සාක්කුවේ ඉන්නේ කියලා.
හර්ෂණ මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට මම කියන්නේ සාක්කුවේ ඉන්න කියන්න යන්න මම මේ. ඔබතුමාලාගේ ජාතික ලයිස්ට්ුවෙත් ඉන්න එහෙම එක්කෙනෙක්.
Protest opposite Parliament against statement made by the Minister of Agriculture. Interim injunction against enforcing the Gazette notification issued, increasing the fee for liquor license.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
On to those stories in detail. The vote on account presented by the government for the first quarter of 2025 was passed in Parliament this afternoon without a vote.
The proposal for managing the government's essential expenditures and maintaining uninterrupted debt servicing for the first 4 months of 2025 was presented to Parliament yesterday.
Here are a few key points raised during the debate on this matter today.
We are now being asked about this debt limit of 3,000. Why has this debt been increased? The agreement that President Ranil Wickremesinghe signed include terms set for the reissuance of sovereign bonds. The haircut is 27%. This means that to issue sovereign bonds, we are issuing 3,000 million rupees to conclude this process. Therefore, this is being done in accordance with the agreement that was previously reached. Yesterday, Minister Kabir Hashim said in Parliament that this will reduce to 17% in the coming years. What is the reason for this? These are conditions of this agreement.
මේ තමයි ගහලා තියෙන ගිවිසුමේ කොන්දේසි.
ඒ ගිවිසුම ඒක තමයි අපි කිව්වේ ඒ ගිවිසුම තාම අත්සන් කරලා නැහැ. ඒක කැන්සල් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබට කොන්දක් තියෙනවා නම් මේ ආණ්ඩුවට ඒක අවලංගු කරන්න.
ජනාධිපතිවරණයට දින දෙකකට කලින් රනිල්
2 days before the presidential election, the president signed this agreement which includes these conditions. That's why we are implementing these terms. After having entered into such an agreement, these people are now waiting for the NPP government to make a mess of the government and would go do something that would destroy the country in an international arena. This is why we are trying to take this country forward in an organized manner. The people who governed the country for over 76 years burdened the country with a debt of 30 trillion and brought the country to a position where we cannot pay back our debts are now asking us to perform magic tricks. Money for some of the loans that were taken by the country has not come into the country. We are now performing forensic audits to investigate these loans, and it has revealed that sometimes only 40 or 50% of the loan has come into the country. The haircut of 27% is nominal. The cut will take place in January 2028. Following the exchange rate valuation based on Sri Lanka's GDP in US dollars from 2024 to 2027. We all know this, the Treasury, the ISB holders and the Central Bank all know that by the final year, this haircut will drop to about 14.4% or 15%. The real issue here is the difference between what was said on the political stage earlier and what is being asked for now. He says that there was an agreement on a 27% haircut and that there's nothing we can do about it. But Minister Kabir Hashim said that this agreement hasn't even been signed yet. That's true. It hasn't been signed. We still have time until the 12th of December, which means there's 1 more week to go. If you are hoping the international sovereign bond holders will at least agree to 90%, even if it's a smaller reduction, there's still time for that.
අදහසක් පැන නැගුණා සැප්තැම්බර් 19 වෙනිදා ජනාධිපතිවරණයට දවස් දෙකකට කලින්.
There was a statement made that no agreement was reached on the 19th of September, 2 days before the presidential election. Although the final agreement has not been signed, I would like to add these two matters into the Hansa. The first is the statement issued by the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilization and National Policies on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka. We did not want to be confrontational and create an issue here because if this process drags on for another year, it will be detrimental to the country. We promise the people that we will take the country forward from where it has been brought to. We have said that we will implement our economic policy. We have not said anywhere that we will follow the agenda of the opposition. Then the second document. After this statement was issued, the Singapore Securities Exchange, this is where these bonds are selling on the secondary market. They too have made an announcement to their stock exchange based on this agreement. That is the reason why we took this practical approach instead of breaking all of these agreements. We are clearly acting according to the mandate that was given to us and not based on the agendas of the opposition.
ඔබතුමා in principle රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ මොඩලයට එකඟයි. ඒක නේද ඔයා කිව්වේ. So very clear. බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඒක කිව්වට. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
In principle, කලින් ආණ්ඩුව අත්සන් කරපු
In principle, what was signed by the previous government on the 19th of September, that is the reason why. Are we going to go into further negotiations and spend more and make this a massive issue for the country, just as you would want us to do? Or do we, based on the assurances given by our consultants that have assured us that we can conclude this by December? This decision was taken as a measure to reduce the expense and to prevent this process from further burdening the people. We do not want to act according to your agenda. We want to bring this country out of the hole that it is in. When we took over the government, the debt restructuring process had come to its final stages. Therefore, it may have certain shortcomings and there may be alternate proposals. To manage the crisis, we have taken certain decisions. The opposition is proposing that we renegotiate this before we sign it on the 12th. There is no way that this can be done. I responsibly state that there is not enough time to do that. There is no room to do something like that now. Based on these agreements, we are aiming to conclude the restructuring of these ISBs soon. We have approved this in the cabinet and we are moving forward. Many are attempting to say that we are implementing the program of Ranil Wickremesinghe. We know who Ranil Wickremesinghe is better than you. You might know him well personally, but we know his policies. That is the reason why we have worked against those policies since 2002. Us implementing the IMF program is not an implementation of Ranil Wickremesinghe's program. The IMF program was initiated by Basil Rajapaksa. We will work with any organization based on the policy of doing right by the people and the country. It is based on that policy that we are moving forward with the IMF.
A debate on the shortage of rice and coconut in the market was held in Parliament.
We have a consumption of about 6,500 metric tons of rice every day. Each month we need around 200,000 metric tons. But our local production exceeds this demand. However, we have been facing a rice shortage. We have been looking into this issue for some time. Upon investigation, we found out that some major supermarket owners are involved. Yesterday, I found out that some state-owned banks have given loans of about 15 billion rupees. However, despite these loans, rice is not being distributed to the market. This is a problem. We have informed these parties and set a maximum retail price for rice to keep it affordable. Nadu at 220, raw at 210 and Samba at 200. We have also asked Sirasa to distribute rice as they have received government loans. In the past, you accused these ministers of corruption, but now we don't hear those same accusations. You are making requests, but we need action. I'm addressing everyone involved. There is someone from your national list connected to this. I'm referring to a person who took a loan of 3.5 billion rupees, which was obtained from the Islamic Bank and distributed through the Bank of Ceylon. There was no interest. Why are you getting upset over the truth? However, can they distribute rice without paying back their loan? Why is the confusion about a 3.5 billion rupee loan when rice isn't being distributed? The issue is clear. These individuals, like the Ratna Rice Company, received the loan. It's not just them. If anyone tries to hide the truth, remember there will be consequences. Back in 2022, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa set a control price for rice through a Gazette notification, but it was reversed 12 times. The price was initially set between 210 and 220 rupees, but now rice is being sold for 250 to 255 rupees. Even Satoshi is only able to offer 5 kilograms of rice with 3 coconuts, which is not enough. I am not like that. Supermarkets are running out of rice too. It was said that no rice would be imported, but importing rice is the solution, and the large supermarket owners stand to benefit from this. Small shops are struggling because the big supermarkets have the power to import rice. The reason rice is not being imported is not because of the desires of the large supermarket owners. You are saying that people need rice, and that's why there's a shortage. But the shortage isn't due to the large supermarket owners' interests. The real issue is that these supermarket owners, despite having received loans, are not releasing rice to the market. We are pressuring them to release rice in a controlled manner, which will help alleviate the shortage. At the same time, we are making sure that the local farmers are protected, and this is why we are distributing rice with a price cap. The President is closely monitoring this issue, and he will not allow this problem to persist into next year. Please remember that.
Let me speak,
The issue cannot be solved by a Gazette notification or by using the military. We brought together more than 15,000 farmers and created a Shakti Rice cooperative system. However, through this cooperative system, the large supermarket owners or those with other interests challenged us. As a result, they managed to reduce rice prices from 114 rupees to over 95 rupees per kilo. Because of this, I am requesting the government to resume the Shakti Rice program again.
A special program was held today under the leadership of the Women Parliamentarians Caucus in Parliament, focusing on addressing violence against women.
In support of the global campaign 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, parliamentarians and female staff members wore orange to raise awareness and show solidarity.
Women are the backbone of Sri Lanka's economy, and the majority of migrant workers are women. We are proud that Sri Lanka was home to the world's first female Prime Minister, and our female population have high literacy rates. But despite these achievements, Sri Lanka ranks 138th out of 146 countries on the Gender Equality Index, placing us near the bottom. We should be ashamed of this. It is time for change. Today, we promise to create and enforce laws that protect every person from violence, abuse and humiliation, ensuring dignity and respect for all.
The father of a 14-year-old girl has been arrested for allegedly murdering the child. Police suspect that the father murdered the child and hid her in the toilet. The police said that the suspect was arrested following an investigation based on a complaint filed by the girl's mother.
The 14-year-old girl had been living with her parents. On the 2nd of this month, the girl's mother had lodged a complaint at the police stating that her daughter was missing and that she believed that her husband was responsible for her disappearance. After the suspect was arrested and interrogated, the police said that he had confessed to murdering the child and dumping her body into a toilet pit. According to the police, the suspect was a drug addict and he had murdered the child while her mother was not at home. The body of the child had been recovered. A person was arrested this afternoon for shooting and killing a 73-year-old woman in Padavia. According to the police, 2 suspects travelling on a motorbike had shot the victim and fled the scene at midnight yesterday. The police suspect that the victim had been shot by a T-56 assault rifle. Meanwhile, an 85-year-old man who was employed as a guard at the SLTB depot in Nuwara was attacked and killed using a sharp weapon. The police said that a sum of 800,000 rupees had been stolen by the suspect from the depot. The police also said that although there had been 2 officers attached to the depot in an adjacent room, they had said that they had not heard anything.
The Supreme Court today issued an interim injunction preventing the enforcement of a Gazette notification issued by the previous government, which sought to increase the annual liquor license fees. This ruling came in response to a fundamental rights petition filed by the Sri Lanka Liquor Licensees Association. This case was heard today before a Supreme Court bench comprising Justices Dilip Nawaz, Kumudini Wickramasinghe and Priyantha Fernando.
Considering the submissions made by counsel representing the petitioners, the Supreme Court bench granted permission to examine the petition and issued an interim injunction preventing the implementation of the Gazette notification issued by the previous government, which aimed to increase the annual liquor license fees. The court also noted that going forward, the annual fees for liquor license should be charged according to the Gazette notification issued in 2017. The petition states that the 2024 Gazette notification had increased the annual fee for liquor license to 20 million rupees. The petitioners have sought a ruling from the Supreme Court, stating that the fee increase has caused them severe injustice and violated their fundamental rights. The respondents named in the petition include the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, among other officials.
මේ අතර බදු නොගෙවූ සුරාබදු බලපත්‍රලාභීන් පිළිබඳව අද පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේදී අදහස් පළ කළා.
ජනතාව මත්පැන් පරිභෝජනයේදී මේ වන විටත් ගෙවලා තියෙන බද්දක් තියෙනවා. ඒ බද්ද නොගෙවන්න සමාගම් තියෙනවා.
Be paid when they purchase alcohol. There are also companies that haven't paid those taxes to the government. One such company is the W.M. Mendes company. The owner of it is Aloysius. Along with taxes and surcharges, nearly 5.8 billion rupees are due from the company to the government. The previous governments in power didn't do anything to collect these taxes from them. These are the taxes due to the government in the years 2022, 23 and 24. Currently, the license are suspended. If we had the authority under the Act to confiscate their property and set it off against these amounts, we would have done it. That means that the tax that should be paid for alcohol has not been paid to the government. If you remember, it was reported in newspapers about the people who took money from Aloysius, and the CID reports were also tabled recently. There are several people sitting here in front of me who have taken money from Aloysius. The next is Vayamba Distilleries Private Limited and McCullum Breweries Private Limited. Both of these companies have taxes to pay. But when the government was going to collect those taxes, they had filed a case against the excise department over these areas and surcharges. Currently, the case is ongoing. Next is Globe Blenders and Bottlers Lanka Private Limited, Kaluthara Cooperative Society and Vayamba Cold Storage Private Limited. They have outstanding taxes that need to be paid. These 3 companies have outstanding taxes that need to be paid for the years 2004 and 2005. These companies aren't operating now, but the government is working to take legal action against these 3 companies. What did they do in the past? On one hand, bar license were distributed. On the other hand, the taxes due from alcohol sold in those taverns have not been collected. They have distributed these among their friends and have taken it during elections. A member of your party from Kaluthara revealed how money was taken from Aloysius and about how they brought money to Sirikotha during the election. He is now a member of the parliament from the Samagi Jana Balavegiya. That is the connection that they have with him.
News First with the people.
Several environmentalists and civil organizations protested against a statement made by Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation K.D. Lal Kantha in Parliament yesterday. The minister had made a statement in Parliament yesterday regarding wild animals and the damage that they cause to the crops of farmers.
The issue of talk macaws has become a serious issue. Many have started to brand this as terrorism. I must inform all members of the farming community that there is no legal bar against you taking any action that you want against these animals who are damaging your crops while on your fields. In the meantime, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Land and Irrigation has taken on the responsibility of resolving this issue soon.
What is this issue? Is this an issue that came up all of a sudden? Or is it an issue that has been there for quite some time? This is not the first time that a statement was made by the minister regarding damage to crops caused by wild animals. The minister had previously made statements indicating that farmers should be supported in dealing with wild animals who damage their crops. And environmentalist and civil organizations expressed similar opposition to these statements even then. About a year ago, it was revealed that the loss caused to the country due to crop damaged by wild animals is estimated between 17 to 20 billion rupees. According to a survey conducted by the Hector Kobak Agrarian Research and Training Institute, more than 31,000 metric tons of fruit and vegetables are lost due to damages caused by wild animals. According to the survey, over 200 million coconuts had been eaten by talk macaws in the year 2022. A survey conducted in 2019 revealed that wild animals damage 40% of the annual crop grown in the country. Wild boar, talk macaws, peacocks, grizzled giant squirrels and porcupines have been identified as animals who cause crop damage in Sri Lanka. A survey in 2016 revealed that 10% of the total harvest in the dry zone are destroyed by wild animals. 15% of green pea harvest, 8% of maize, 9% of peanut and sugarcane cultivations were destroyed by wild animals. In a survey of 46 Gramanalidari divisions in the Ampara and Monaragala districts conducted in the year 2017, it was revealed that 22% of corn cultivation, 15% of paddy cultivation, 23% of peanut cultivation, 41% of finger millet and 41% of mango cultivation had been destroyed by wild animals. There were proposals made from time to time on implementing short-term and long-term solutions to these issues. Farmers have requested to be provided with air rifles and ammunition to control this situation. However, environmentalists and environmental organizations hold a different view. Several environmental organizations and civil organizations staged a protest opposite the Parliament roundabout against the statement made by Minister Lal Kanta.
Do you know that it was animals who lived in the forests in Sri Lanka, and it is the land that those animals lived in that was looted by people? Lal Kanta should be informed that animals have a right to live in and around forests just like humans. By making a statement that farmers can take out their guns and shoot any animal that comes to their fields, Lal Kanta opened the doors for a massive slaughter of animals.
It has not even been a week since we met him. We asked him for the Animal Welfare Bill to be presented in Parliament to reduce the harm caused to animals. It had not even been a week since then. He came to Parliament yesterday and asked people to kill animals. Is this the reawakening that we envisaged?
What is the right that Lal Kanta has to ask farmers to do whatever they want if animals come onto their fields?
The Centre for Environment convened a media briefing in Colombo today and spoke about this matter. We see this statement as an encouragement to those who are engaged in smuggling animals and promoting environmental crisis that we are facing right now. Instead of making these inept statements in Parliament just to please some people, these issues need a policy-driven approach. Does this issue have no solutions? Several individuals who held the position of Minister of Agriculture before had assured that alternate solutions will be provided to address this issue. Officials said that this issue can be controlled by alternate solutions. Constructing electric fences, encouraging new research, following proper agricultural techniques, planting crops as food for wild animals, planting crops that would repel wild animals are some of the alternate methods that had been proposed.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Generators for long-term rent. Multiways Engineering Private Limited.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Former State Minister Lohan Bratwata was arrested this evening. He was arrested for allegedly driving under the influence and causing an accident.
Former State Minister Lohan Bratwata was arrested this evening in connection with an accident that occurred at the Kollupitia junction. The accident occurred when the defender he was driving collided with a car. Police suspect that he was under the influence at the time of the accident. No one was injured in the accident.
The Ceylon Electricity Board has proposed that existing electricity tariffs should continue without any amendments. This was through the proposal of the CEB that was submitted to the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka regarding revising the tariffs of electricity. Moving on to more local news now, Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, Donald Liu, who is currently on an official visit to Sri Lanka, met with top Sri Lankan officials today.
A U.S. delegation led by Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, Donald Liu, met with Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, posting on X, said that the discussion focused on Sri Lanka's priorities and strengthening cooperation in education, agriculture, anti-corruption measures and equitable economic growth. The U.S. delegation led by Donald Liu also met with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Wichita Herath. The delegation congratulated Sri Lanka's new administration, discussed shared priorities and explored ways they could work together through tailored programs, capacity building and technical assistance to support Sri Lanka's economic and governance reforms for the benefit of the Sri Lankan people. The delegation also met with Speaker of Parliament Ashoka Ranwala to discuss Sri Lanka's reform priorities and the critical role of Parliament in advancing the Sri Lankan people's mandate of accountability, transparency and inclusive governance. Meanwhile, Deputy Assistant Secretary Robert Caproth and the U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, met with Sri Lanka's Treasury Secretary Mahinda Sirivardhana. They discussed how the United States can support Sri Lanka's economic reforms and growth goals and to explore opportunities for stronger U.S.-Sri Lanka collaboration to strengthen fiscal resilience.
The NSF Digital Library Conference, organized by the National Science Foundation and Ministry of Science and Technology, was held this morning.
The NSF Digital Library Conference aims to introduce new digitalization services for the libraries of universities, R&D institutions and government departments.
We are very serious about investing in R&D because we think that investing in R&D is essential for the development path that we need to take. As you know, our intention is not to keep the country going in the same direction that it has been going in for the last 75 years, but to take a new direction. And that new direction has to be based on research and evidence and data. It has to be data-driven. One of the biggest problems that we've been facing over the last several years is that in decision-making, particularly at the highest levels of decision-making, decisions were not taken based on evidence, based on data, based on science. This is something that needs to change. The data, the evidence, the science has to inform the decisions that are made at the highest levels. And it is not just the decision-making process, but if we are to take the leap that we need to take in order to be the country that we have the potential to be, then we need to invest in innovation, we need to invest in new findings, in new technology. All of this needs to happen, and for that to happen, we have to have a robust research and development sector. Until now, investment in the R&D sector by the state has been abysmal, and that needs to change, and we are hoping to change that gradually. We won't be able to get to what we want to get to immediately, but we certainly want to start changing it.
This program aligns with the government's digital transformation initiatives, which include rapid digitalization of government institutions to enhance efficiency, transparency and reduce paper usage.
French President Emmanuel Macron has said he will name a new Prime Minister in the coming days after Michel Barnier resigned following a no-confidence vote in Parliament.
In a 10-minute address to the nation, French President Emmanuel Macron vowed to stay in office until the end of his term due in 2027 and announced that he will name a new Prime Minister within days in efforts to overcome the political deadlock following the resignation of ousted Prime Minister Michel Barnier. He pointed blame at his opponents on the far right for bringing down the government of Prime Minister Michel Barnier. He said they chose not to do but to undo. A total of 331 lawmakers in France's 577-seat National Assembly voted to remove the government in the no-confidence vote on Wednesday, forcing Barnier to step down after 3 months in office, the shortest tenure of any prime minister in modern French history. The vote was the first time a French government had been voted down by Parliament in more than 60 years, a move Macron labelled unprecedented. In France, it is the president who chooses the prime minister, who then runs the government. But the Prime Minister must answer to Parliament, and Barnier lasted only 3 months before he was ousted in a no-confidence vote.
South Korea's ruling party leader said President Yoon Suk-yeol needs to be removed from power for trying to impose martial law, as the government denied reports it was preparing to issue another martial law declaration.
South Korea's ruling party leader has said Yoon Suk-yeol needs to be removed from power after his shock decision to impose martial law this week. Fearing another attempt to declare martial law, opposition politicians were rotating through Parliament's hall to block any attempt. The presidential office, however, denied any such order had been given, while the government said it was not preparing another martial law declaration. Yoon Suk-yeol resented the declaration 6 hours later on Tuesday, but protesters and opposition MPs have called for him to be impeached with a vote due tomorrow. For an impeachment to pass, the bill would need support from 2/3 of the 300-member assembly. As the president's party has 108 politicians, 8 would need to side with the opposition for the bill to succeed. If the president is impeached, he would be suspended until a trial can be held at the Constitutional Court, while the Prime Minister would serve as acting leader. Meanwhile, the National Police is investigating the president and Kim Yong-hyun, the defense minister who resigned after allegedly encouraging martial law.
A fascinating piece of history connects Sri Lanka's plantations with the prestigious Wimbledon Tennis Championships. Frank Haddo, a coffee planter from Ceylon, etched his name in tennis history when he won the second Wimbledon Championship in 1878. Let's take a look at the story behind this historic achievement.
Wimbledon is the oldest and most prestigious tennis tournament in the world. Held annually in Wimbledon, London since 1877, it is one of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments alongside the Australian Open, French Open and US Open. Born on the 2nd of January 1855 in England, Patrick Francis Haddo, known as Frank, moved to Ceylon as a planter after completing his education. Alongside his brother, he managed plantations transitioning from coffee to tea under the banner of P.F. and C.M. Haddo, a company now owned by Serendip. In 1878, during a holiday to England, the 23-year-old Haddo entered the Wimbledon Championship and defeated the inaugural champion Spencer Gore. Despite his historic win, Haddo never competed again. He is the only men's singles champion to remain unbeaten in the tournament's history. Apart from tennis, Haddo was a first-class cricketer representing MCC, Middlesex and other clubs. He also played for the Dimbula Athletic and Cricket Club, the oldest planters sports club in Sri Lanka. Frank Haddo's life spanned diverse pursuits, from plantation management to big game hunting in Africa. He passed away in Somerset, England on the 29th of June 1946, leaving behind a legacy intertwined with sports and Ceylon's rich plantation history.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.